I didn't grow up with much, but I grew up with sense. So when I found a woman I loved, I wasn't just looking for beauty. I was looking for peace, purpose, and partnership. Her name was Tenny. A calm, respectful woman from a quiet Christian home in Oyo State. She was 34 and I was 38 when we got married. From the outside, we looked perfect. Two grown adults ready to build a future together. But inside, I was building. She was waiting to be impressed. From the first day, I carried every load. Rent, me. Bills, me. Feeding, me. Sanitary products, me. Even her little sister's transport fare for school, me. Still, I didn't complain. I encouraged her to build a brand online, open a page, start pushing her hair and skincare business. I paid for the graphics, helped with captions, even used my own page to promote her product. I wasn't doing it for clout. I just wanted her to have something of her own. I believed a woman who earns her own money thinks better and complains less. But somehow, the more I tried to lift her, the more she mistook my support for control. I encouraged her to grow spiritually. Babe, join a women's prayer group, I'd say. Spend time in devotion. Build yourself from within. But it always turned into an argument. So you think I'm not spiritual enough? She would snap. Are you God? Sometimes she listened. Other times, she walked out of the room and slammed the door. Still, I kept hoping love would win. But what I didn't see coming was how often she ran to her father's house. Anytime we disagreed, she'd pack a bag and leave, sometimes with the children. No discussion, no apology, just boom, gone. And worse, she would involve her family in our matters. Her elder brother, her aunties, even her mom once called me and said, "You're too strict, let her breathe." I wasn't a perfect man, but strict? All I ever asked for was mutual respect. If I, the man, could carry all the responsibilities and still involve her in decisions, why couldn't I get the same level of regard? But I swallowed the disrespect for the sake of peace, for the kids, for the promise I made before God. The day she opened her first shop, I was more excited than she was. I snapped pictures, prayed over the place, and told her, "This is the beginning of your greatness." She smiled. But somewhere in her eyes, I began to see something I ignored for too long. Competition. She wasn't trying to grow with me. She was trying to prove she could outgrow me. Still, I told myself, be patient. Maybe when things stabilize, she'll see your heart. But marriage doesn't wait for maybe. It feeds on what you give it daily. And unknowingly, while I was feeding love, she was feeding pride. It was a Sunday morning. The kind of morning that you start with prayers and soft music, not raised voices. I had just finished bathing the kids. Yes, I did that often. And was about to iron their clothes for church when I heard unfamiliar laughter coming from the living room. I stepped out, towel draped over my shoulder, and froze. A strange man, her cousin apparently, was seated comfortably on my couch, legs crossed, eating the rice I bought in the house I built without my knowledge. I turned to her. "Who is this?" I asked calmly. She rolled her eyes. "My cousin now. He came in late yesterday, so I told him to sleep over." "You couldn't inform me? Do I have to take permission for everything in this house?" she snapped. It wasn't the first time, but this one hit differently. It wasn't about the cousin. It was about the principle, the respect, the constant decisions she made without me, as though I were just a tenant in my own home. We argued. Not with shouts at first, but with tone and posture and silence. I walked away before words became weapons, but by evening I noticed her mood had changed. She was packing again. Not just her things, the kids' things too. I followed her into the room. "Tenny, what are you doing?" She didn't answer. "Tenny, talk to me." "I'm going to my father's house," she said coldly. "At least people there listen to me." "You're taking the kids again?" She zipped the bag. "I won't leave them here with you. Not with this tension." And just like that, she left. She didn't look back. Not at the home we built. Not at me. And definitely not at the little girl who had asked me that morning, "Daddy, are we going to church today?" She left me with silence. And silence is a loud thing in a man's heart. For 3 days I didn't hear from her. No call, no text, not even to ask if I'd eaten. I tried reaching out to her parents, and all they said was, "Let her cool down. You know how she is." Yes, I knew. Too well. But I didn't marry her for her to be someone I could no longer talk to. I married her so we could talk through everything, even the ugly. I began to ask myself honest questions. Is this marriage still a home or just a waiting room for the next argument? Is love enough when respect is absent? By the 4th day, my daughter's teacher called. "Sir, your daughter has been crying in class," she said. "She says she misses her daddy." I nearly broke. This wasn't just about a wife who couldn't communicate. It was about 2 children growing up in emotional confusion. And me, I was breaking in places no one could see. I sat alone in the children's room that night. The bunk bed still smelled like them. My daughter's shoes were still under the table. My son's storybook lay open on the same page I stopped reading the night before she left. I picked it up, stared at the unfinished words, and felt something collapse inside me. I wasn't just missing my wife. I was missing my life. My children's laughter, their little arguments over biscuits, the way my daughter used to hug me every time I came home from work yelling, "Daddy!" Now it was just silence. Pain has many voices, but mine was quiet. It came in the form of long stares at the ceiling, prayers that started strong but ended in silence, and a heart that kept asking, "God, what did I do wrong?" I wasn't a perfect man, but I tried. I tried to be supportive, tried to carry her along. I never raised a hand at her, never cheated, never humiliated her publicly. All I asked for was peace, respect, partnership. But somehow in her eyes, I became the bad guy. She said I was too controlling, that I talked too much, that I wanted to be the center of everything. But how do you explain to people that being the head of the home isn't about dominance? It's about responsibility. And trust me, I carried it. Even the responsibilities she should have shared with me. I paid the rent, handled bills, bought groceries. Even the little things like sanitary pads and hair relaxers, I handled without complaint. Still, I was too much. The final straw wasn't even her leaving again. It was her taking the children like they were hers alone, as if I were just a donor, not a father. That night I wept, not because I was weak, but because strong men also have breaking points. Only ours don't always make noise. The next Sunday I walked into church alone. No wife, no children. Just me and my questions. After service, I waited behind and walked up to the pastor. A gentleman, not too loud, not too soft, just balanced. I told him everything, not to shame her, but to find sense in the mess. He listened. Then he said something I didn't expect. Sometimes when peace leaves your home, God wants you to find it inside yourself first. Those words followed me home. For the first time in weeks, I prayed, not for her to return, but for God to show me what I had been missing. Was it boundaries? Was it discernment? Was it that I had ignored signs just to keep an image? That night, I didn't sleep. I searched my heart, and for the first time, I began to ask myself, not as a husband, but as a man, do I want her back because I love her or because I'm afraid of starting over? The problem with pain is that it teaches slowly, one scar at a time. I spent days replaying our past, hoping to spot where the rain started beating us, and the more I looked, the more I saw it wasn't just about her. It was about me too. I had confused love with endurance. I thought being a good man meant tolerating everything. I mistook silence for peace. And I let too many wrongs go unchecked just to avoid being called controlling. I remembered the red flags, how her family always had a say in our marriage decisions, how she never really learned to handle conflict without involving others, how even during our courtship she would ghost me for days after minor disagreements, then return like nothing happened. I thought marriage would fix it. It didn't. What it did was magnify everything I ignored. I reached out to an older friend, David, a godly man with 20 years of marriage under his belt. He didn't shout, he didn't blame me, he just asked me one question. Do you want peace or do you want someone to fill the space beside you? It hit me. For the first time, I realized I'd been begging for love that couldn't stay unless it had a second opinion from outsiders. I was married, yes, but I was emotionally alone. David told me, you cannot lead a home where your authority is repeatedly questioned. Submission is not slavery, it's structure. If a woman sees your leadership as a threat, she will keep resisting everything good you offer. That conversation opened my eyes. It wasn't about ego, it was about order. And the more I prayed, the more I saw clearly. I had empowered the wrong behavior. Every time she ran to her parents, I'd go and beg. Every time she pecked out, I'd send transport money to bring her back. Every time she disrespected me in front of the kids, I swallowed it just so they wouldn't grow up without their mother around. But you can't build a future with someone who uses leaving as a weapon. The only way to restore dignity in this mess was to stop enabling it. So I did something different. I stopped calling, stopped explaining myself. I sent her a message, not bitter, not angry, just clear. If you are ready to build this home on new terms, respect, boundaries, and God at the center, then let's talk. But if your peace depends on me breaking myself to keep you, then stay where you are. I release you in peace. That was the first night I truly slept. It's been 2 months since I sent that message. No reply, no return, just silence. But unlike before, this silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like healing. I began doing things differently, not out of spite, but out of growth. I went back to morning devotions, not the rushed, duty-driven type, but the quiet, soul-searching kind. I spend more time at work, not to escape my pain, but to build something for myself, something solid, something mine. And when I saw couples together in malls, church, or parks, I no longer felt envy, just acceptance. Peace came in strange ways. Sometimes it came in my daughter's voice notes sent secretly from her grandmother's phone. Daddy, I miss you. Sometimes it came in my own kitchen as I learned to make jollof rice and finally got the water to rice ratio right. And sometimes peace came in the mirror when I looked at myself and saw a man who had finally stopped begging to be understood. Then one morning my phone rang. It was her. Teni, I answered, voice calm. She sounded uncertain, not her usual defensive self. I've been thinking, she began, maybe we rushed things. Maybe I didn't understand what it meant to be a wife. Maybe... I gently interrupted. Teni, I said, this isn't about blame. It's about alignment. I still love you, she whispered. Kids miss you. I miss them too, I said. But love alone isn't enough anymore. We need structure, boundaries, shared values, and God at the center. No more third-party decisions, no more running. If we're rebuilding, it has to be on new ground. She didn't argue. She just said, okay, can I come home? That question used to melt me. Now, it made me pause. Because healing teaches you that not everyone who left deserves to return. So I asked gently, are you coming back for peace? Or just because life out there got hard? Another pause. Then a quiet. I don't know. Then stay where you are until you do. I didn't slam the phone. I didn't block her. I just allowed peace to remain the loudest voice in my life. You see, I didn't choose pride. I didn't choose revenge. I chose peace. I chose to stop performing for love. I chose to stop rewarding immaturity with acceptance. I chose to build my own wholeness, even if I had to do it alone. Marriage is beautiful, yes, but not when one person is carrying both the dream and the burden. To every man listening, a home without peace will kill you slowly. Don't beg to be respected. Don't shrink to keep someone. Don't break your spirit just to build someone else's ego. And to every woman listening, submission isn't slavery, it's structure. Respect doesn't reduce you, it protects you. In the end, I may still take her back, but only if she returns as a woman who's ready to walk with me, not someone expecting me to carry her while she fights me. Because this time I'm not fighting for love, I'm fighting for peace.